Hi everyone, Jessica here from Paper Ink Stamp and welcome back to my channel. So today's video we're finally getting around to looking at issue 89 of Die Cutting Essentials. So the free gift of this one is called Be Happy. So we have this apple blossom die here. So there's two dies. You've got one which is going to die cut the honeycomb with the bees and the flowers into your cardstock, and then you do have an outer die there as well which will then take that panel out of your cardstock if that's what you want to do. And then we do have 4 stamps down here as well. So we've got the two bumblebees, sorry. Then we have the sentiments Be Happy and Be Beautiful. And I really love the size of these as well. They're really, really nice and big, and you'll be able to get some good sort of like heat embossing and things like that with these, just because you've got some nice thick areas with that. And also you can download 22 papers and choppers as well, which will fit in very nicely with this stamp and die set. So taking a little look at the magazine itself, at the inspiration, so we've got Nikki's cards here, so a couple of different shaped cards, and again then we've got some where they are left in the cardstock, others then where they have been die cut out using that second die. You've got using 2 of them together. We've got the patterned papers in here along with the choppers, but those stamps as well. We've got a simple make just here for this circular card, so lots of different cards that you can create using this set, and they are going to be perfect for this time of year. So I do have a commission in this magazine as well. This is all to do with creative shaped front cards. So I've used some flowers here. These are by Gina K Designs, stamps and dies to create these. There's a little intro. These are the 5 cards that I have created. So you've got then the different flap fronts. So we've got almost like a gatefold here. We have got, this is like a tent style card, and then this front portion will kind of stand up on itself, and then again where it's just die cut sort of from the corner, there are instructions as always, and it sort of shows you how these kind of open up. You do have little additional pictures down here as well. There's a how-to on how to actually create this look, so you can then follow along with this. So with this particular card here, this does open both ways, so you've got the front of the card, you can hopefully see it there where you have the shape of the flower here die cut, but also this top portion here, the actual flower itself, that does open out as well. And then like I said, you've got the instructions down here for that, and then just the other 2 on this side. I did have a lot of fun creating those. If you want to see a video on how to create those, then leave me a comment down below. We've got a few makes and things with this particular set, so some stationery. We've got a notepad there, you've got a memo block. So again, you can use this, doesn't matter what kind of crafting you do, you will be able to use this set. So let's take a look at what comes in the next issue of this magazine. So the next issue, this is issue 90, goes on sale the 19th of May. So this is called Tropical Frame, and you have an 8-piece die set in here. We've got a big script hello die, which is lovely. We've got some flowers hibiscus in there, and then we do have that frame as well. And again then 28 papers and toppers that you can print, download and print. And then I do also have a commission in that one as well, and it's using Elizabeth Craft Design stamps. So I've got a few cards. This is one of mine just here. This was a big 8x8, and I used lots of different pieces together, so I'm really excited for you guys to see that one. But so again, issue 90 goes on sale the 19th of May. So that's a little look at the magazine and the free gift as always. So now let's get into creating our card using this Be Happy stamp and die set. So for today's card, I'm going to be creating a 5x7" card base, and I'm going to be using a craft card base. I wanted to do something a little different and with a different colour palette to what you see in the magazines, just to give you a little bit more inspiration on how you can use these dies. So I've gone for the craft card base, mainly because I don't use them very often and I try to get them out as much as possible. I have then got 2 mats and layers. So I've got the Buttermilk Yellow, which is this here, both from the Tonic Studios Craft Perfect, so it's the weaved cardstock. Then for the top piece, I have got the Ivory White. So I want to use the outer die from this magazine, and I want to die cut that through the card base and through that yellow layer, and I want to make sure that I can get them lined up perfectly and get the frame that I want. So what I did is used my tape runner, put a small amount on the back of my yellow mat, and I've attached that then onto my card base. I've then lined up the die exactly where I want it to die cut from, and then I just put that through my die cutting machine, so you can see that it's gone through both of these, and I'll be able to line it back up and everything is going to sit perfectly. So my idea with this then was to cut the inner die, so the inner die doesn't die cut from the cardstock, it's going to die cut into it. So I wanted you to be able to see right through onto sort of into the card. It's not how it ended up, but I'll talk about that when we get there. So I figured the easiest way to get this lined up perfectly with this outer die was to do the same thing again, but on the inside of the card. Again, I popped a little bit of that tape runner on the inside of the card. I put in my ivory cardstock, lined it up where I thought I wanted it to be, sort of, in the middle of that card. And then I placed the die onto the ivory card from the front of the card and secured that. So it meant I could get that design lined up with that outline die. So the idea was you could see right through it and you're not going to see the card base or that yellow card from behind it. So I ran that through my Gemini die cutting machine. So the plate I used for this, I did need an extra shim because I wanted it to go through and I didn't want to have to be kind of ripping any pieces out or anything. I wanted it all to fall out nicely, like you can see it's here. So for my combination, I used the 2 cutting plates, the plastic shim and the metal shim. And then I did end up just putting something like a sheet of cardstock in it. And that really does help. So if you have trouble poking out the pieces from your dies, try popping an extra shim in there. So I poked all of those out. And I love how this sits in the design, but again, you do have the option of having that outline die as well if you did want to have this as a panel on onto your cards. But this was the idea. Like I said, you're not able to see the yellow sort of behind it, and you'd be able to see through right inside the card. So when you had it open, you could just simply see through it. So that didn't quite work out, and the reason is because I put the foam tape onto the back of this ivory panel, you ended up seeing it out the back. And in hindsight, I don't think it really would have mattered. But to be honest, I did then just put a piece of craft paper on the inside so you wouldn't see any of that. So the buttermilk yellow cardstock I just glued down onto the card base, made sure that I lined that up perfectly with the 2 circles. And then I wanted to add a little bit of twine onto this ivory top panel, just for a little bit more interest, because it's going to be quite a plain looking card, but I really love how this one turned out. So this is from, I picked this up from the craftclearance.co.uk website. I showed you a haul from that a little while ago now, and I picked up, I think it was 3 packs of these Creative Expression twine packs. There's 3 different colors. You've got this one, you've got a lighter one, and you've got black twine in there. They were only £1 each. They were really fantastic value for money. So I'm literally just going to tie that in a bow just across the bottom. I've held that in on the back with a piece of washi tape. I find that if I tape it down to begin with, it just stops it from moving around when I'm trying to tie the bow, but it also then keeps it exactly where you want it to be once you've popped it onto your card. So now I'm going to add some foam. So this is the 3mm foam. So really great. I am sort of working my way through this roll a lot quicker than my first one actually. So I must be making a lot more cards and having a lot more dimension on it. So I'm going to place this around the outside of this piece, and you can see then I've just trimmed it in half. It's really easy to trim down, but what I sort of forgot was that the outside die that I die cut from my mat and layer and from my card base is obviously slightly bigger than what this die cut is. So adding all of this foam kind of around it, you did end up seeing it. So like I said again, I did end up literally just gluing a piece of craft cardstock to the inside of the card. card. So you don't really notice it because it's the same color. You could turn this into a shaker, so you could put some acetate behind it. You could just do a piece of acetate if that's what you wanted to do, but you could put some sequins and things in there as well if you wanted to turn it into a shaker card. Something like this is really easy to do that with because you're not cutting it from the out of the cardstock. It's still in there, so it's really easy to turn into a shaker card. So you can see just how well that's all lined up, and I do honestly think that this is the easiest way that I've certainly found of keeping something inside it and then getting everything to kind of line up together. So I wanted to add some extra just a little bit of color to this maybe. I didn't end up doing all of it in the end, so I picked out a bunch of glitter cardstock, and I was going to die cut this bee panel again from the different colors, and I was just going to kind of lay those colors over the top. So I picked out a glitter green card I was going to do for the leaves, and like a pinky red there for the flowers, and then I'm doing the black. So this is the diamond shimmer or diamond sparkle from Hunky Dory. This is their black, and so I'm die cutting the bee from this, and I kind of did the bee and I thought I don't want to add any other colors. I really didn't think it was going to go, and I'm so happy that I didn't, and I left it literally just with the bee because I think it turned out really lovely. So I die cut it again using that die panel, and then I'm just poking out all of the pieces, and I'm just going to trim around it just as much as possible to just get that bee. I'm going to pop some glue on it, and then I'm going to stick it over the top of the bee on the card itself. So, you know, you can do some inlay if you wanted to. You can just put a piece of paper behind it and do some colouring and things like that. There's so many different things you could do with a panel like this, but then you can layer up different elements. So what I could have done is die cut it again, maybe from like some vellum or something for the wings. So I could have done then a second layer or a third layer really for this bee, and added different elements in there as well. So you really can build these up as much as you wanted to. But I really love how it looked just with the colour palette. It's very, very neutral. And yeah, just having that little bit of black on there, I think is going to be nice, especially when we put our sentiment on there. It's just going to help it to really stand out from the rest. Because then I did have that piece of craft cardstock behind this panel, I did decide to just put some foam pads, some small foam pads onto the backside of the wings, because obviously it is going, because it's quite delicate, it's going to sink just a little bit. Obviously I wouldn't have done this if you could see it all the way through, but the fact that I had that craft card there, I thought I may as well just kind of prop it up a little bit. So the next thing I'm going to do is work on the sentiments. So I really love the size of the sentiments that they've got in this pack. So there are only two. I'm going to do the Be Happy today. And I decided then to do it on that same buttermilk yellow. I thought it just worked really nicely together with the ivory, the sort of pale yellow, and then of course that craft. So I'm going to pop it into my mini MISTI because I'm using the weaved cardstock. Sometimes I need to double stamp or, you know, stamp it multiple times just to kind of get it onto that texture. And I'm using, then this was my VersaFine Onyx Black. Again, I want to tie that in with the black of the bumblebee. And again, it does just sort of help to stand out quite nicely. So I'm just going to trim out my sentiments. So I'm just going to be quite close sort of around it. And this, I just didn't want anything kind of too big to take away from that bee panel. There's quite a lot of sort of delicate, because it's all the same color, you can kind of look at it to see all those details. I really didn't want anything to distract too much from that. So just trimmed out, very, very simple. Then I'm going to pop some foam onto the back. So I'm going to put it over that piece of twine there. So instead of putting my bigger foam tape, I'm just going to do, I think I did, yeah, 5 little dots, and I'm going to have that gap in the middle, and I'm going to place that gap over then my string or my twine, just so then it sits evenly on the actual card itself. And then to finish this, I'm going to use some Nuvo drops. So I've got the Ebony Black, which is the crystal drops, and I ended up adding 4 of those just sort of around the sentiment and the card. And then I used the Nuvo Vintage drops. I think this was called Saddlebag. Oh no, this is the Pumice Stone, sorry, because this is the grayer one. I do have the Saddlebag, which is a little bit more of a tan colour, but I wanted to add just a slightly different colour in here, and I try to do different sized dots on there as well, just to finish it off nicely. And I'm so happy with how this has turned out. I'm hoping you guys think it's something nice and different from the cards that you're seeing in the magazine, just so it's not always kind of the same. And you've seen inside then that piece of craft card that I added in there, you really wouldn't be able to tell. So that's my finished card for today. So if you did enjoy it, please give this video a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below. If you haven't subscribed to my channel already, please do so you don't miss out on any future videos. So that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching and happy crafting.